So we'll get into it then. So my name is Siobhan Niclonica. I am the project manager for Think Again, which is a scholarship program in UCD that is specifically for women. It's for mature student women and women who are coming from households on a low income. So what we want to talk about today is give you a little bit of background kind of information about the Think Again scholarship. Hear from some of our current Think Again scholars and how they've been getting on in UCD over the past year, and also hear a bit more about what it's like to be a mature student in UCD, or what's the other bits of information that you need to know if you're planning on coming to UCD as a mature student, either this September or in future years. And then what I'll do at the end is I'll go through the application form and show you step by step what that looks like, so that you know what to expect when you're making your own application. So what I'd like to do first is to introduce my colleagues who are on the call. So we have Ruth McAdam, who is currently a Think Again scholar. And Ruth, I'll leave you to tell everybody a little bit more about yourself and what you're studying. And then we also have Emma Summers, who is the Mature Student Advisor in UCD. Some of you may have met her already at some information sessions, or you may have heard from her already if you made an application to UCD in your CAO. So good to put a face to a name, I think, for those of you who know her. And so with that, I will stop talking. I will hand over to Ruth, and hopefully our other Think Again scholars here, she will be able to join us shortly. And what I'll get you to do, Ruth, is maybe just tell us a little bit, first of all, about what you've been studying in the past year and how you found that. Maybe let's start from an academic experience first, and then you can tell us what's it like to be a student in UCD and your kind of social development. So go ahead.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Siobhan. So my name is Ruth, and I'm currently doing the Arts, History, Social Science and Law Access course at UCD. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but essentially it's a one-year part-time course that allows you to take a selection of subjects and gives a good taste of what university is like. And at the end, then it grants access to some of the humanities courses on completion. So it's a really good kind of soft entry course, which has helped me decide what I want to do and what I want to study next year. And Siobhan's asked me to give a little bit more information about why I decided to take the course and how the year has gone so far. So I never went to university when I was younger, but it was always something that I had in the back of my mind and regretted not doing. So when I had a change in personal circumstances and a bit more time on my hands, I decided it would be a good time now to apply and see if it was something I wanted to pursue. I chose UCD because of the high academic standard and along with the reputation of being a very inclusive institution. I think a lot of people in Dublin would probably pick Trinity or UCD as their first choice due to the academic reputation. But when I compared the two, I was drawn to UCD, I suppose partially because of the facilities available on campus, but mainly because of their reputation of being a university for all and for just being much more inclusive, I suppose. Taking this course this year has genuinely been a really enjoyable experience. I may not have opted for the access course if I hadn't missed the mature student application deadline, but I'm really happy that I took this course first. So the support provided by the university and UCD is fantastic. They provide a wonderful learning environment, and there really is supports for everything that you need along the way. As a mature student, support from the All Centre, which is the Access and Lifelong Learning Centre, been really helpful. And as a Think Again scholar, then you get additional supports away, both directly from Siobhan, who organises lots of additional workshops and skill building sessions, and also from other members of the Think Again programme as well, which is really helpful. So we have a WhatsApp group set up, which is just a great group of women who understand any of the issues you might be facing and are always willing to offer help or advice if they can. Attending UC this year has really helped to build my academic confidence. I've learned a lot about myself as well as about the subjects I've been taking and how university works. And when you get here, it's really easy to understand why some people never want to leave. It's a very comfortable and kind environment to learn in, with plenty of people to help you and they want to see you succeed. So Siobhan also asked if I had any advice for people thinking of applying to UCD. My only advice really is just go for it. I know it can seem a little bit daunting at the beginning, and if anyone's unsure if it's the right thing to do, I'd say just sign up, go through the application process. And if you change your mind later and you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But at least you'll have the option rather than wondering later what would have happened if you applied. For me, sometimes it can be very easy to get caught up in my own thinking and miss an opportunity. So if you're feeling the fear, just kind of ask yourself what's holding you back. And once you have a list of the things that you're worried about, you can then figure out how to deal with any of those issues. And you might actually be surprised how short that list is. Also, I'd say don't be afraid that you won't fit in. Everyone is made to feel welcome at UCD. And just remember, at any point, if you're struggling, there are people who will help you and they're trained in how to do that. So next year, I'm really looking forward to fully immersing myself in my studies and testing my abilities on a full-time course. It is going to be a very different experience because the classes I'm taking now are quite small and there's lots of mature students on it. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment to go into a larger class with much younger people, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. And actually, I'll admit there's part of me also looking forward to being just one of many faces in the crowd at a lecture. Sometimes it's nice to be able to blend into the background a bit. I'm hoping to remain part of the Think Again programme, and hopefully I'll be seeing some of you all on campus next year. So that's all for me, and I'll hand you back over to Siobhan.
Absolutely fabulous, Ruth. You're the poster child for Think Again in terms of preparation and the ability to articulate yourself. Ah, fabulous. Thank you so much for giving us.
It's all true, Siobhan. It's all true.
Absolutely, but organized thinking, and I appreciate that you thought about the different topics that we had talked about in advance of this. I really appreciate that. So we'll go to Saoirse then, who is another one of our Think Again scholars who is studying full time. So Saoirse, what you might do is let us know a little bit about what you're studying at the moment. And then, like that, if there is anything, any advice that you want to give to the other people on the call about what they might want to be thinking about in preparation for their studies or as they're going through their educational journey, what might that be?
Okay, brilliant. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm studying sociology and social justice, and I'm absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving it. So I was terrified. I'm in first year. I was terrified before I started. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. I hadn't been in school for, God, I'm 53. Anyway, years and years. Hadn't done an exam. I did very badly in school. It wasn't for me. So even though I was very interested in learning at this age, I wasn't sure if I'd be able for it. But yeah, I've just gone from strength to strength, and I want everyone to go to college. I'm a college pusher now. I can't believe how I've grown. My confidence has changed amazingly. My anxiety is lower. My children are proud of me. My family are proud of me. Yeah, it's just amazing. I'm so, anytime somebody asks me what I'm doing, I have 2 kids. So normally I'd be talking about the kids. Now I'm all about all about the college. They couldn't have been more helpful. Think Again and UCD. Just if there's anything you need, the support is there. What else? Yeah, sociology and social justice, I would absolutely recommend, especially in today's world and environment. It's incredible. You'll gobble up every reading. I have 2 exams in the RDS that I'm preparing for now, so which is amazing. I never thought I'd be able to do exams again, and I'm actually loving being a nerd, as I call myself now. And what else? Yeah, just to say, so I was on Job Seekers Transitional because of the 2 children, and I wasn't sure how seamlessly that would all work with going back to education allowance, and it couldn't have gone easier. It was absolutely brilliant, all within one meeting. It was done, and they were delighted to see that women going back into college. So intro in Tala is where I went, and they were really helpful, just in case that's a concern for anyone. Did I cover everything, Siobhan? Sorry, Ruth, you were amazing. You said everything that needed to be said. Well done.
Well, I think Saoirse, you have definitely captured the energy that comes from being a Think Again scholar, and we appreciate you sharing your enthusiasm. And look at that, like supporting each other across the call as well, and having each other's back. So, definitely embodying some of what we're trying to achieve with Think Again with yourself as well. So, thank you so much for that. As I said, we will have time at the end for questions. So those of you on the call, if you have any questions for Saoirse or Ruth about some of the topics maybe that they've talked about, such as managing that transition from life not being a student to life being a student, thinking about part-time options, and then what full-time means, thinking about the different subjects that they're studying, we can definitely come back to all of that at the end. So in the meantime, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Emma. And Emma, you are going to give us an insight into loads of different things. So I'll hand over to yourself and you might take us through what you had in mind. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Siobhan. And thanks again to Saoirse and Ruth. You really covered so much there in terms of the mature student experience and in terms of the questions that normally come at me around this time when students are kind of preparing. They've got their CAO application in and it's all starting to feel a little bit real. I loved Ruth's advice about, I think, you know, it can be very easy for us to sort of say, oh, don't worry about your fears, it'll be fine. I love Ruth's advice of write them down, get it out of your head, write them down, and then sit and have a look at them and see, okay, well, what can I actually do with these? And if you're having those fears, somebody else has had them before you. If you have the question, somebody else has had that question before you, and we have the answer to it. So make that list and get crossing things off. Speaking of lists, I have one for you, which I will go through and I'll show you where you can get kind of some of the information or most of the information that you'll need at this point. But I also don't want to overload you on this call this morning. I think the main thing I want you to walk away from this call is that sense of if you have a question, there is an answer to it. You are not the first mature student to come to UCD. You won't be the last. We are so appreciative of mature students in UCD. They bring just such a wealth of knowledge, experience, wisdom, energy, dedication to the campus. Our lecturers, we hear this feedback every year. Our lecturers love to see mature students in their classes, in their tutorials, because you're motivated, you're interested, you're excited to be there. There's support for you. And really just, yeah, make that list and kind of get through it. The things that you can really be thinking about now are almost the things outside of UCD, really. Until you get that CAO offer in July, your hands are tied a little bit in terms of, you know, registration or timetables or all of that kind of stuff. And that is, I know, something that people really want to get cracking on. You kind of want to know, where am I going to be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when I start, so that you can start arranging all of the other things around that. So just to, I suppose, give you a heads up on that, you're not really going to have that information until the end of the summer when you get your timetable. Depending on the course you're going into, you might be able to get an idea of, you know, what the lectures and the timetable will be like, but that won't be finalized until the end of August. But there are other things that you can do in the meantime to prepare. A lot of those revolve around your finances, and obviously this is a scholarship information session, and whilst there are a huge number of supports that come with the Think Again scholarship outside of just the financial piece, that finances obviously is front and center for a lot of you. The other things to start thinking about really are your support network, and how you're going to manage your other responsibilities outside of college and outside of UCD. And then I will also go through kind of those nuts and bolts pieces around registration. So I'm just going to share my screen for a second, and I'll just very quickly show you a checklist that I have sent to Siobhan. So Siobhan will be able to share this with you after the call. And I will, can you all see that on your screens there? So I've broken this down into 3 parts. So the first are kind of these various different applications that you might be thinking of around now. The second part is just around the kind of preparation that you might start thinking about doing. And this third column is these are the things that you won't be working on until after you get your CAO offer. So you can kind of, in a way, park this until July. So the applications that you might want to start thinking about around now. So SUSI will open in the coming weeks for the 2025-26 academic year. So you can pop on to the SUSI website and use their eligibility reckoner to see if you might be eligible for it. And I would advise you to apply for SUSI as soon as possible. Don't wait for your CAO offer. Apply as soon as possible. That way, if there's any issues, you'll find out about them sooner. And it means that you'll also be in the priority group of students who will get approved first by meeting that earlier deadline. Saoirse already brought up the issue of back to education allowance. So if you are on a Department of Social Protection payment, you may be eligible for the back to education allowance. SUSI will may cover your contribution charge and may offer you a maintenance grant. Back to education allowance is always higher than what SUSI will pay you. So if you are on an eligible payment, really you want to try and get that back to education allowance. It's usually very straightforward. The main thing to be aware of is find out that information now. If you try to apply for a social welfare payment after you have become a full-time student, it can be more difficult, especially if you're a job seeker, because you are then deemed not to be available for employment. So I would just say, if you're on a social welfare payment, have a chat with your Intrio office or with the Citizens Information Bureau and get the information you need on that. The Think Again scholarship, I won't go into. You're here this morning. That's great. You're already ahead of the game on that one. The Sanctuary Scholarship, you may be eligible if you are an asylum seeker, if you are seeking protection here in Ireland, or if you're a refugee. So depending on your status, you may be eligible for a Sanctuary Scholarship. For those of you on the call who may have a disability or who may have, ADHD, ASD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, anything like that, or physical disability, a long-term illness, anything where you may require some additional support in relation to how you study, assistive technology or exam supports. Now is the time to start kind of having a look there and see what paperwork you'll need for it. Your GP can give you a letter. You can come in, meet our disability team and get your needs assessment done after your CAO offer. But now might be the time to just make sure you have that paperwork in place. Sometimes people's paperwork might be outdated. Better to get all of that sorted before you come in September. And then the other one is just making you aware of your student leap card. Now, again, that's one that you won't be able to do until you're a student, but it can really substantially decrease your transport costs for students. And then just very briefly on the preparation front, your finances, just really thinking ahead about your finances for your first and subsequent years. This is an area where I see students really bury their head in the sand. Really just, they want to come to university, they've made it happen, they've gotten the application in, they're now maybe going to get their offer, but finances are an issue and they're maybe afraid to look at that. They're afraid to look at that problem, and look, budgeting can be terrifying. I would say get it done now and think about it not just for year one, but year 2, year 3. How are you going to sustain yourself throughout your time in UCD? We do have an expectation that all students coming in September have considered their finances and have got a plan in place to finance their studies. Accommodation, then, you're also expected to have your accommodation in place. And look, we do understand it's very difficult at the moment in the current environment in Ireland in terms of accommodation. We have students who are managing to get through their studies with very long commutes. So we are aware, obviously, of the context with this. There's a few links on this just in terms of UCD residences. You would deal with them directly for any accommodation queries. UCD Accommodation Pad is kind of like a mini Daft where we have some local landlords who rent out rooms. That would generally be a house share situation. So it may or may not be suitable for you depending on your own personal situation as a mature student. And then obviously Daft is the kind of main website that people would use for finding rented accommodation here in Dublin. And then the other one is just around that support network, really starting to think now about that support network. And especially if you have caring responsibilities, whether that's family or elder care, or any kind of, you know, disabilities or additional needs yourself. Just really starting to think about how you're going to mix, you're going to blend your existing responsibilities with your new study responsibilities. And I would say if you're going to be working part-time as well, really considering how that is going to work for you. You know, if it's agency work, if you're going to be working nights, how's that going to fit in with, you know, life as a student? Just having kind of some realistic conversations with yourself about that now. And if anything is coming up for you around it, bringing it to us to discuss that at this stage, I suppose, rather than having the head in the sand. And the last piece, I'm actually not going to go through in any great detail at all. This is just a little list that you'll have when you get that CAO offer in terms of your registration with us here in UCD. But I suppose the main thing that I wanted you to know with this one is that you're not going to have your timetable until the end of August at the earliest. It might be the first week in September. So do bear that in mind. You'll be brought in for orientation in the week before your classes start. And before your orientation, you will get an invite to the All Welcome. It's a one-day event in the week before orientation, usually. When you're thinking about the time that you're going to be maybe taking off work or the childcare that you're going to need to organise, I would really highly recommend that you take the time off to attend that day. It gives you a great head start before you come in terms of getting to know the campus and the supports available. And then, so I am one of a team of 18 student advisors across the campus. So the other thing just to note, and I'll stop sharing there for a second. The other thing to note is that you will have access to a student advisor for your time with us here at UCD, a student advisor in the area where you're studying that will have, you know, really good links with the academics involved in your program. And who are able to kind of guide you through we understand that life doesn't start and end inside the gates of UCD. People have a lot of things going on outside of those gates. So if you get ill, if there's something going on with family, if there's a bereavement, if there's financial issues, like these things are going to come up, you know, during your time when you're studying. And there's support there for you to avail of. There's always somebody who can point you in the right direction or just give you a listening ear in terms of whatever you have going on outside of your studies. So I think that's it from me, and Siobhan, I'll give you that resource then to share with everybody afterwards.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emma. I appreciate that resource and you talking us through it. I think that's been a lot of information to take in so far in terms of the experiences of our Think Again scholars and kind of the topics that they raised, and certainly everything that Emma went through has given us a lot of things to think about over the next couple of weeks and months, even before and if you walk through the gates of UCD. So is there anything at this point that anybody wants to ask, to comment, even if you want to just put something in the chat that's on your mind, or if you want to unmute yourself and say something? If it's on your mind, as Emma said, it's probably on the minds of other people on the call, or if it's something that you're worried about, it's probably something that has worried Saoirse Ruth already. So we can take a pause there maybe. And I am now sharing what I hope is the Google search landing page. And Ruth, I can see you nodding, so I'm going to assume that that means that you can see that too. And the reason that I wanted to start here was because I wanted to show you exactly where you start from so that we can get to the application form and then get the application form, get through it from there. So really, usually whenever I'm looking for the Think Again webpage, I just Google UCD Think Again. And it comes up as the first item that you'll find when you do a search for UCD Think Again. And there is some information here about what Think Again is for, when the application deadlines are, and then in terms of help with your application. So hopefully you will be able to get all of your questions answered today, but if you do have any further questions about your application, just pop back to this webpage and you will see when the next drop-in clinic is for help with the application. So the next one, as it happens, is today at 12 until 1. So I'm not in any major rush to get you guys. And if people want to stay and ask questions about Think Again after 12, that's fine, because that's what this Zoom is for. And then, but even if it was something that you have a question in June, there'll be more application clinics in June. But what I would like to do for now is I will leave you with this information to look at in your own time. It's a little bit about what is Think Again, how much is it worth? So to answer that question quickly, €7,000 for full-time students and up to €1,000 for part-time students, sometimes depending on the number of modules that you're doing or the number of credits. And we talked a little bit about fees already, so you'll find more information here about what Think Again means for your fees and for your social welfare payments. So we've covered those already. So what I will do is I will leave that section for now. And I will also just land here for a moment because all of this information is available on the webpage. And Ning, I'm going to come back. I see that you have a question here about the CAO application. So I'm going to put a pin in that and I'll come back to that after I've gone through the Think Again application. So in terms of Think Again, in order to get Think Again, you must be a UCD student. So you're not a UCD student now, because a lot of you, I know I recognize some faces on the call. So I know there are some UCD students on the call who are progressing from one stage to another. But you do need, when you actually get a payment from Think Again, you do need to be a UCD student. And so if you're considering other institutions and you make that decision, that's great. But Think Again is only run in UCD. You must identify as female. You must be age 23 or over. You must have been resident in the Irish state, EU, EEA, UK, or Swiss Federation for 3 of the last 5 years. Your household income must be under €50,840, and you can't have a degree already. But there is a little bit of extra information from those 2 last points. So your household income being 50,000 or less, that number does change depending on the number of children that you have who are dependent on you. So if you have fewer than 4 children, it's that 50,000 mark. But then those thresholds, those cutoff points increase if you have more children than that. And then there are some times where you may still be counted as a mature student, even if you already have some form of higher education experience. So again, it goes into a little bit more detail about that. If anybody has any questions about that, feel free to contact me directly after the call. So then let's leave that and let's get to the application form. So before you begin your application form, please do read the privacy statement, because that talks about the information that we will gather from you and what we will do with that information. So it's important that you're informed about that. The next step is to fill in the application form. And I want to draw your attention to the fact that there are 3 application forms. There is one application form for students who plan on studying, who plan to begin their full-time study in September. There's another form for people who plan to begin their part-time study in September. And then there is a third separate form for students who are currently UCD students and who are progressing from one stage to another. So please do bear that in mind, because they're very similar, but there are slightly different questions in each of the forms, depending on the type of student that you're going to be. So please just take a moment to make sure that you're filling in the right one. But to give you an example of what they look like, I'm going to start with the one for new students who are going to be studying full-time. So for each one, there is a link to bring you to the online application form. And there is also a link to download a Word document version of the application form. And then you can fill that in and you can either email it to thinkagain@ucd.ie, or you can send it to the address that's given on the application form if you prefer to send it by post. So let's take a look at the online application form. So once you click on that link, it brings you to the online application form. And this is exactly what you're going to see when you click on that link. You'll know that you're in the right form because it will say on top which one. So if you think I'm a new entrant, but I'm studying part-time. Okay, well, this isn't the right form for me. So you can go back to the webpage and find the correct one. So the first thing that you will have to do is you will have to insert your email address. So let's pop that in there, and consent. And this is what I was talking about when I said that you have to read the Think Again privacy statement. We'll ask you to confirm you have done that before you continue. So with each section of the application form, there are 3 sections, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Each one tells you what to expect in that part of the application. So this is part 1, applying to UCD Think Again. And it will tell you that we will ask you about your contact details, some eligibility criteria, your education to date, your chosen UCD program of study, and your life and experience. They are the areas that we're going to be asking you about. So let's continue. And I am going to just shorten my name for a moment. And it would help. I just made a student number there. And my address is middle of the town, Dublin, and my mobile number. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Just some contact details so that we are able to keep in touch with you about your application. And here's where we're getting into those eligibility criteria. So you'll remember when I talked earlier, I talked about who Think Again is for. So yes, I have to be over 23 or over. I have to identify as female. My household income has to be below €50,000. I have to have been resident in the Irish state or one of these guys for 3 of the past 5 years, and to be eligible for free fees. So Emma talked about that a little bit already, but if you do want more information about that, if you're unsure as to whether you're eligible for free fees, there is a link here, and that will bring you to the information about that. Thank you very much, Saoirse. Saoirse is off to go to a lecture. That is the life of students going to lectures. But we will keep going on through this application form and hopefully get through it by 12 o'clock. So when I talked about previous education experience, for some of you, that might mean that you are applying as a mature student and that you have never been to higher education before. But it is possible that some of you started a course in higher education, did not complete it, and that you have had a gap of 3 or more years since 3 years or more since you finished that course. So that's an option as well. You may be on a progression pathway. So that might mean that you have been doing open learning already or on an access course. So for example, Ruth, that was one of the things that you talked about, that you were doing the access course and then hope to progress on to a full-time course. That's what Ruth was talking about. So if I were Ruth, I'd be saying, yes, I've done that. Generally speaking, if you say yes to I already have a degree from a university, it's unlikely that you will be eligible for Think Again. So feel free to contact me at thinkagain@ucd.ie if you are unsure as to whether your answer to that question is yes or no. But if it is yes, it is unlikely that you will be eligible for Think Again, because Think Again is for students who do not have a degree from university already. This is where we're asking you about your chosen UCD program. So bearing in mind, if you can do your application today, but you don't know what your course is going to be for September, that's fine. That's okay. You can just go ahead and you can make your application. We can confirm that information with you in July when you get your offer. So don't let that stop you from making your application. But let's say that I know that the course I want to do is psychology, and I hope to get there because I graduated from the access course. So it's just letting us know a little bit about what you plan on studying in the next few months and what the path you have taken to get to that point is. So you can see there are two short questions. And then the last question in the section about yourself and the application form is your life and experience. So in UCD, we are extremely proud in UCD, and this has been mentioned already, that we are quite a diverse institution where we really hope that people who come from all from every kind of part of the community and society in Ireland feels that they are welcome in UCD, that they can are welcome to study what they want to study, and that they have a good time when they're here, and that they feel that they belong when they're here. So if you would like to let us know, you may let us know if some of these aspects of that these are to do with your background, your current life. You don't have to tell us these things if you don't want to, but they are helpful for us to know. One is the kind of the background and the experience of the people who are applying to Think Again, because the purpose of this scholarship is to try and increase the number of women studying in UCD who are coming from background where the household is on a low income, or where there has been some marginalization of the community that those women come from, because UCD needs you. UCD needs your experience, UCD needs your knowledge, UCD needs your expertise. We need you to study here. We need you to get your degree, and then we need you to go out into the world as a UCD graduate. So, like I said, you don't have to tell us these things if you don't want to, but we do encourage you to do so. And as you will see from the privacy statement, that isn't information that will be shared elsewhere. It'll be kept in the application process. Okay, so that's part 1 done. And I'm conscious that it's gone past 12 o'clock and that you may have other places to go. So let's move through the last 2 sections pretty quickly. So you can see here, this is going to be about the income documents that you need to submit. And the first thing that we ask you is, what is the value of your household income? So that might be 18,000 euro. Or perhaps it's 0. What we'll ask you then is, who earned this income? So that was myself. Do I have any other income? No. Am I in receipt of another scholarship? No. And then that's what we're asking you. So then what we ask is that you submit 1 document to give us, you'll see in the previous section that I said I made up 18,000 euro. What I need to do then is I need to submit a document that shows, yes, my household income is 18,000 euro. So that's essentially all we need to know. And you can do that by submitting your letter from Susie. So as Emma mentioned, I encouraged you all to apply for Susie if you're eligible. Or you can submit your statement of liability from revenue, or your summary of payments from the Department of Social Protection. If those words mean nothing to you right now, that's okay. When you get to this point in the application process, you'll have a guide to supporting documents to help you decide which document you should submit. You will, and if you click on any one of these, it will take you to an example of what that document looks like. So you will know what it is that you're looking for. And if you have any difficulty in getting the document that you need, please do feel free to email thinkagain@ucd.ie, and then I can tell you when the next drop-in clinic is, and we can take that question at the drop-in clinic, online or in person. But this document, Think Again Guide to Supporting Documents, should tell you where to find all of these. But if you click on each one of them, it will show you an example, so that when you get it, you can say, okay, I have the right document because it looks like the sample document. And you can just upload these here. If it is the case that you have applied for Susie, but that you don't know if you're eligible yet because they haven't issued the eligibility letters for everybody, there are questions here that you can say, I've applied, but I don't know if I'm eligible, so I'll confirm that I will send my letter in when I get it. And that's part 2. That's all we need, is just you to tell us a little bit about your financial situation and submit 1 document to give us the kind of the paperwork support of that information. And then the third part is your statement of motivation, where we ask you, why do you want to study in UCD? Why is now the right time for you to study in UCD? And what will it mean for you to have a qualification from UCD? Those of you who are currently in UCD and are progressing from one stage to another, your questions are slightly different. But really what we're asking you is, tell us a bit about what brought you to this point. Why is it that you want to study in UCD, and what's that going to mean to you? And you can write about 200 words for each of those. So why do I like psychology? I'm sure you're going to write better answers than these. Now is the right time because my kids are in school. And what will it mean? It will mean the world. You are going to write much better answers than that, but just to demonstrate the form, let's keep moving. And then this asks you to declare that you certify that the information is correct and complete, that you've answered the questions honestly, that it is you who has made this application. And then a couple of questions about just giving us permission to check your status with Access and Lifelong Learning when it comes to your SUSI eligibility if needed, to confirm with that registry if you're a first-time student if needed, and then that you agree with the privacy statement, because I've mentioned that already. We do want you to confirm that you have read that so you know what we'll do with your information. If you have an extra minute, you can tell us about where you heard about the Think Again Scholarship, but that's not a requirement. Then you'll get to this final page. And the last thing that I want to draw your attention to is you must hit this submit button. Don't get to this last page without clicking that submit button to make sure that you've made your application. If you don't hear from us within 2 working days, please get in touch and check that we definitely got your application. You should get an email within 2 working days of making your application. And then I'm not going to hit submit. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take us back here. So that is the full application form start to finish. And at this point, I'm conscious that we have moved past 12 o'clock and we're into the drop-in clinic section of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop recording.